What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome back to the Sooner Surge. Before we get started with this video, hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications. We'll be pushing out a lot of content over the next weekend and weeks to come, so be a part of it. Join up. Also, go check out the FanStop, fanstop.com. Make sure when you go there, use code SURGE. You'll get 10% off your first 3 months. Officially licensed gear. Go check them out, fanstop.com. Guys, game one in the books from the World Series, and Sooners get the victory. And big part of the victory were two players that been slumping, I would say, as everybody would say, and they both hit bombs in game one. Torres and Sanders both come through with bombs. And is it time to say, or is it too early to say, the slump is over with them?
I think it's definitely, at the minimum, a step in the right direction. Lena Torres, Sydney Sanders have had a rough last month of the season, to say the least. Handful of hits for each of them since that UCF series, back before Bedlam even. It's been a rough stretch for two hitters at one point that each of them had just an insane stretch at the plate where it seemed like every time they were stepping into that batter's box, they were going to deposit a softball into the stands at whatever stadium that may be. But since then, they've cooled off. Sydney Sanders has, I believe, 4 hits since that UCF series, including today, I believe. And then Torres, not many more. And they both stayed in the lineup because of their defensive presence, which, I mean, they flashed that today as well in game one against Duke.
Yeah, and here's the thing. That's exactly right. As much as we've been on and fans have been on both of them, and rightfully so, when you're talking about a lineup that's already great, and then you have two hitters in there who've really been struggling, and overall, the Sooner club has been leaving runners on base. And let's just be honest, sometimes it's those two that have been up to the plate. The defense has been there. The defense has been there pretty much all year from those two, and they did, like you said, show it. I'm not going to say the slump is over yet because a couple of the other at bats, there were, some jam sandwiches up there. But I will say this: I don't think it's at the point now where you say you got to get him out of the lineup, because they both the threat of the long ball is now there, and we know what happened last time Sydney Sanders broke out of a slump. It was scary. She went on a very, very, very massive tear of long balls. And I think as long as the threat's there and they're swinging it okay, you got to play him. And I've been one that said I want to see Riley Ludlam. I want to see him. We did see Ludlam there at the end and getting that bat. But I think with their senior leadership, Torres at least, with the way they have played defense, you're going to have the defense, because OU's not striking out every hitter on the pitching side of things. So you're going to have defense. But if the threat of the long ball is there, I think you have to continue playing. I think maybe one more game we'll be able to tell if the slump is actually over.
Well, I think you look at Torres and Sanders both. Earlier this year, you mentioned Sanders being on a tear. Torres went on a really good tear as well. They both have had their time where they've hit the ball extremely well and extremely hard. And I'll say, I think Torres has been kind of coming out of it now for a little bit. If you go back to even previously in the postseason here, she's hit some really hard balls just right at people. So I think she's kind of been swinging it better as of late anyway. Sanders, to me, has been the one that has just struggled with pop-ups and just infield hits, just can't seem to get it. And that was so huge for her to get that hit. And you can go back, I can't remember, Super Regional, she had the double. It might have been regionals, but she had the double at the end of that. So maybe they are, kind of hitting their stride here. And you cannot emphasize experience in the World Series. Just go look at the Duke pitcher, the freshman, who's had a great year. It's different in the World Series. Sanders has been there, Torres has been there, and it makes a difference. I don't care if you're in a slump or not. If you've been at that stadium and you've played in that atmosphere, it can make a difference just being up there in that situation.
Yeah, Sydney Sanders had a double against Texas in the same stadium right before the official start of the
That's
NCAA
right. Big 12 tournament.
postseason. But yes, both of them have, again, at Devon Park especially, have been very good this year. I mean, Alina Torres, the stretch she was on, remember that game against Baylor, pinch hit grand slam at that same stadium. Sydney Sanders has had her fair share of moments there over the course of the years. But I mean, this season, especially for Sydney Sanders, it was 8 home runs in a 12 calendar day period to start the month of March. Just an insane tear. It seemed like every time she was stepping to the plate at Love's Field, the ball was going into the stands. Since then, cooled off. I mean, on the season now, a 250 batting average. When at one point it was, I mean, through the roof. It seemed like even during that stretch, if she wasn't getting a hit, she was getting on base by way of walk. Since then, even that has cooled down. But you've seen in postseason, while there has been still some not great at bats, the ability to draw walks at a decent rate.
Yeah, and I think that's. I know the lineup. It was different today. I don't know if Sydney Sanders has ever been in the 9 spot. I, for one, like it. Hunter, you mentioned walks. She's been striking out, walking. Home run is what the announcer kept saying. You know, those 3. But she's also popped out a lot. But I think, you know, you turn the lineup over if she does walk. You also separate Torres and Sanders by putting her in the 9 hole. I kind of like that. I do think their defense has been better, partly due to the fact that, especially Torres, that was her only way. If she didn't flash leather, she wasn't going to play if she was in a slump. I think that kind of, it forced her hand. I've got to be at my best at defense so I can guarantee a spot in this lineup. Now, they may not come out and say that. I, for one, think that that's made their defense even better. And listen, one sign that you are coming out of a slump, Jay and Hunter, you guys know, when you foul a pitch straight back, it's a good sign. Sydney Sanders did it twice today. She fouled it straight back. That means she's on the pitch. To me, that is another sign that she's coming out of the slump when you're fouling them straight back. Something to keep a note of.
Yeah, and you mentioned Torres playing with her defense, but, you know, you look at the 2 that have battled all year for that position. The thing Torres has that Hodge doesn't is the power, and she's had it for years before she even came to Oklahoma. I mean, so that is something you know she can do, and she can get hot and just have some tears where she's just destroying the ball. And so you know that, and I think that's partially part of it too, is because Hodge does. I mean, Hodge can butt and do a lot of that kind of stuff, but you already have Boone down there doing that. I mean, Boone's been really good in that role today. She got another bunt to start an inning. So I think Torres has to be the one there. And I think Sanders, with her defense at first base, just hopefully she can continue this hitting as the postseason moves on, you know.
Yeah. One thing interesting for me with Torres is, I mean, it seems the last really couple months defensively, I've been impressed with what Alina Torres has been doing at second base. But it still seems like anytime that there's a sizable lead, she's getting pulled later in the game for Avery Hodge. Wonder if that continues. I mean, today I didn't expect it to happen with the play she made of being able to turn to second to get the force on the lead runner instead of the, I mean, logical play of going to first. I mean, that's not something you see from the majority of second basemen, but she was able to pull it off.
Yeah, and I would have really maybe questioned it a little more so, but Ludlam also came in for Hansen. So maybe they're just trying to get a couple of others who could be pinch hitters in there, maybe for an at-bat and at least some fielding purposes. But the big question, everyone, is the slump over of Torres, Alina Torres, and Sydney Sanders? Drop it in the chat. Drop your answer on whether or not you think this slump is over. We hope it is, because it's going to change things for the Sooner Club moving forward. They're going to have the sticks going. There's some elite pitchers in this tournament. It's not just a one pitcher like maybe there's been in the past. There are several standout pitchers, and OU's going to have the sticks working. But thanks again for watching the content here at the Sooner Surge. Check out the Fanstop, fanstop.com. We'll see you next time. Boomer.
Sooner.